Hey everybody, Dave here from Dave Tries to Fix Stuff, channel dedicated to the repair, restoration, and resurrection of broken stuff. Today's episode we are going to be looking at this speaker cabinet that I have. I've been using this as a basically a test cabinet to plug various things in. Oh, nice. It is something that it's an 8 ohm speaker that if I have amplifiers that I'm working on, like amplifier heads, or even just if I have a chassis on the bench that I want to be able to test and all that, I need a speaker to be able to plug it into, and this is what I want to have fit the bill. The thing is that it is an 8 ohm speaker, and I want to be able to have it fit other impedances. So I have a little thing I'm going to build here that I'm going to attach to this and make it to where it'll fit 4, 8, and 16 ohms, and should be a fairly usable and easy to manage speaker. So if you want to see what I do to get this thing working, stick around and we'll do it together. One thing I just noticed here that I hadn't noticed before, but it doesn't surprise me, that there's a rip in this speaker cone. I can fix that. I don't think it'll be a huge deal to fix it. This is a fairly beefy cone though, but I'm not going to be putting a lot of wattage to this thing. So I fixed rips like this before, just basically by putting contact cement around here, and then you work it a little bit so that it kind of stays even, and it should seal it up pretty well. So that's one thing I have to fix on this. I just wanted to point that out. Okay, what I have here is a case that is from an ATX power supply, like the power supply you would get out of your desktop computer. It's a little dirty too. This thing houses, the transformers and the inductors and all the little parts and stuff that converts the 120 volt power into usable, I believe 5 volt and 12 volt DC power voltages that you use to run your computer. This was actually a dead power supply, which I took apart a while back, and I cannibalized parts from stuff like this. There was some usable parts on there, including some MOSFETs and all that I can use for other things. But I wanted to utilize this thing to house what I'm going to add to the speaker cabinet to make it a usable multi-impedance speaker cabinet. What that's going to include is a rotary switch in here that I will solder some high wattage resistors to in a configuration that will allow me to switch between 4, 8, and 16 ohms on the speaker, and I'll have as well a 1/4 inch jack on the front of this, so that, well, actually it'll be on the front, maybe on this side. I'm not sure which side I'm going to put it on, but whatever side I put it on, I'll have the jack on this thing, and then on the big side I'll just drill a hole here that I'll match up to a hole that I will drill into the cabinet, and then I can, and then I can just mount this on the side like this, with all the wiring and stuff going into the speaker. Maybe I might even put it up a little closer like that. So then I can just plug a jack, or plug a speaker cable right into the front of this, select my impedance, and then utilize the speaker for that particular impedance for that amplifier. So that's the general plan. So now here is here's the little diagram that I drew that shows how I'm going to wire this thing to be able to make this work. You can see that I've got the rotary switch is a dual pole 3-throw switch, where if I keep it on the middle one, it will just remain, the speaker will remain 8 ohms. But if I put it to where the thrower goes down to this first one, that puts this 50 watt 8 ohm resistor in parallel with the speaker leads, dropping effectively 8 ohm speaker down to 4 ohms. And you know, then the signal goes back. If it goes up to the 16, which is what it shows right now, then you've got the signal going into the speaker, coming back down to here. This goes to nowhere. This goes up to here. So this 8 ohm 50 watt resistor is actually in series with the speaker, increasing the impedance up to 16 ohms. So that's the general idea. Now I do realize, you know, the difference between that there's a difference between impedance and resistance, and this is not something that I would suggest you do for an amplifier to make a certain speaker work over another speaker. If you have, say, an 8 ohm speaker, but your amplifier needs 16 ohms of impedance to be able to work correctly, I wouldn't suggest doing this. Not to say it wouldn't work. It will work. The thing is that, first of all, these resistors will be dissipating a lot of heat. That's the reason why I am utilizing this thing to mount this in, because it has the vents in it and all that, and it'll allow it to, you know, air to come through and ventilate that stuff, ventilate everything that's in there. But also because if you do it this way, these are going to be eating up half your power. So it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to put in an 8 ohm speaker with a resistor in either in parallel or in series, because half of the power that's going to be going to the speaker will be eaten up by the resistor. What I'm doing here, the reason I'm doing this, is simply to make this thing compatible with various chassis I may be working on. So this is not meant to take the place of having the correct impedance speaker put in your amplifier. So keep that in mind. No push. So this is what you need to look out for when you're doing stuff like this. Get yourself a nice little slice if you're not careful. And on my fun finger too. Okay, so I have everything basically drilled out here. This is going to go together like this, with this on the front over here, or on the side towards the front. So I am going to need to get this mounted. I'm wondering, I probably want to mount this stuff first, and then install it in here, because it'll be easier to work on it without all the trying to do it inside of that thing. So let's do that, shall we? I think what I need to do is I need to check continuity. Okay, so from over all the way, then that's got continuous with that, which means that one should be continuous with this one. Oops. Okay, so as far as I can tell, I got this hooked up correctly. This thing's coming apart. I'm going to have to fix this soon, even though I've got a buttload of them. So that is going into there. Which should be onto that one. So that one should come back to that one, which is hooked up to that one, which then goes out to there, and also goes to that, which goes to that, which should be on that one. So theoretically, what I should have at this point I go from that right there. When it is on 16, I should have 16 ohms if I hook it up to this. Okay, and I do. That's good. And then from that one to this one, I should have, if I have to hook these leads up to each other, I should have 8. Okay. Okay. God, this cabinet's seen better days, that's for sure. That might be something I do eventually is sand this thing. I know I've talked about it before, you know, sanding this thing up and filling everything in, and I don't know if I paint it, or I'm sorry, I Tolex it, but I might paint it if nothing else, just to kind of make it look not so shitty. But either way, so what I want to do is I want to mount this thing basically right here, or maybe down a little bit. Well, I want it, but there's a thing on my, yeah, right up here, because there's a there's something I have on my workbench that this is, you know, I'm kind of have everything jigsaw puzzle pieced in here correctly the way I want it. So I want this kind of high up so it doesn't hit that. So there's that, there's that, and there's that. Before I do that though, there's something that I need to do to ensure that I'm not going to screw something up that needs to be fixed. This speaker is actually I have one of my future videos that I'm going to have will feature a an old airline, like 1960s airline amplifier, and the original speaker out of that, I guess, got blown. I bought it from the guy who claims he was the original owner of it, and when the original speaker was blown, he put this one in there, which is not a bad speaker, but goodness gracious, it was huge. And I'll talk about the problems that it led to in that amplifier. Yeah, we got some. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I don't even know if this is going to be visible here, but let's see. There are, you can see down there, those are the original jacks, and I'm going to keep those in here because I'm just going to wire everything to the speaker in parallel, and just know that I can't have anything plugged into the two jacks at the same time. But I'm going to keep those in there. But that's what I'm going to do is I'll have this go in, and yeah, I'll have the wires will be coming in from that side over there. Let's see, from that side will come down and be soldered into those parallel to what we have. So that should hopefully theoretically give us just what we need. So, but one thing I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to fix this and that. And I think that may have just happened while I was working on this. So, because yes, I can be a dipshit when I want to be. So let me, goodness gracious, this thing's all jacked up. Let me go grab my contact cement, and I can try to get those fixed, and then we'll start doing all the drilling and all that for this thing. So we'll be right back. All right, so I took the speaker out of the just back up here. I took the speaker out of the cabinet, and I have some contact cement here, just regular stuff you can get from Lowe's or Home Depot. And what I want to do, I want to get as much dust out of this, which a lot of this dust is probably on the brush itself, because I use this brush to dust things like this. But what I'm going to do is try to make sure that I can get to these areas here where I can kind of push these things up a little bit and get them even like that. And then when I brush them with the contact cement, theoretically that contact cement, I'll dope the entire surround with it. That contact cement, since there's no missing pieces in here, they're just rips, that should seal that back up real good. Same thing with this one down here. Can I even connect to that? That one's got a little more, it's like a puncture. I've done. I know the other. Yeah, that should fix up. That's actually closed up at this point. I've used other methods to fix. Got a hair in my mouth. Sorry. To fix stuff like this. I know they have the Elmer's glue method. I've used that. I've used fabric glue with little pieces. I'll take the paper towel, and you take you peel off the plies and just use like a single ply paper towel. I've used toilet paper, and it's worked good too with that fabric glue. And those are fine methods, nothing wrong with them. This one though, I found just seems to give the most play after the fact. It doesn't. There's no stiffness to it. It kind of just reattaches the pieces that were previously broken, but doesn't add any more coloration to the speaker. At least not as much as if you were doing it with a Elmer's glue or similar type of glue method. So, but I am doing this inside the house. I never suggest doing this kind of thing in an area where you can't have good ventilation, but I mean, I'm up in my loft, which has high ceilings, and I'm not going to have this out for very long, so it's not that big of a deal. But this stuff is pretty pungent and you'll smell it, definitely. But I'll just put a real light coat around here. I use these. These are, you know, the cheap little things you can get at Lowe's or Home Depot for 75 cents a pop. And I get these, or I get the 1-inch ones. These are great for this because when I'm done with it, I can just throw it away. I don't have to worry about it. Just a little bit around here. I'm gonna put it on. I mean, that's probably about as thick as I like to put it. As I'll put it on around and on the surround. I kind of go around it once or twice if I'm doing this just to, because I'll do this sometimes on old paper cones on old speakers just to try to help give more longevity to the speaker itself. So that, you know, it just helps to kind of reinforce the surround, which is where most of the you know, violence is happening on these things. That's where it's going to wear out. So I'll try to do that. About that much is how much I'll do. I'm going to put a little bit extra over here on this section though, because this is where this rip is, and I am going to try to mound it up a little bit so that it kind of and then I'll do the same thing over here on this guy. Okay. Now, this brush is technically not going to be any good anymore, but technically isn't going to be good anymore for doing something like this, because you want to have the brush, you know, to be able to, you know, really not be a, you know, not push against the speaker cone very much. But it will still be good to use for if I want to do Tolex or something. So I'll hold on to the brush. It'll have a little bit of, you know, stiffness at the ends, but it's not going to be too bad. But you know, you can kind of see, you know, I try not to get it to where it'll drip like that so much, but I do want it on there kind of thick. So, and then this one over here, I don't know, I may have to come back and put a little bit more on that. But that might be good. I don't know. I'll look at it and I'll see. When I get back there, I'll kind of put my finger back here and so I can kind of press against it here, and you can see how it's pushing through. When this all dries up, I'll see if, when I do that, if you could see real easily if it pushes through like that. Because once it dries, that should kind of impede the ability to do that. So when this dries up, I'll take another look at it. This should dry, I mean, it should dry within 20 minutes or so, but I'll give it a little bit longer so it has, you know, because it's a little bit thicker on there. I'll give it a little bit longer, and when by the time we get back, we should be able to see if this is enough or if I'm gonna have to put some more on there. Okay, so while that thing's drying, we can go ahead and move forward with getting the holes drilled in the side of this thing to be able to accept this guy here for mounting. We'll start off with just a normal pilot hole, which this is actually going to be mounted with a couple of just these, you know, panhead wood screws. So I don't even have to do much more than a pilot hole for these. This one I actually want to get big enough to where the hole I'll probably end up using, let's get out of here. I'll probably end up using this large one because that hole will be big enough to where that whole grommet will be able to sit inside the hole and this thing will be able to sit flush on here. That's my goal anyway, so we'll see what happens. So now that that's on there, this should be 8 or in the neighborhood of. This should be 4 in the neighborhood of. This should be 16. All right. So cool. All right. You know what? Hey, we did it. So we've got it normal, which is 8. Should be 8 ohms on that. Switch it to 4. So 4.4, 4.5, which is good. Switch it up to 16. It's at 16. So actually, it's working perfectly. So I don't know what I was so worried about. It's not like I ever make mistakes. camera cut out, stupid camera. Anyway, ohms here, we know straight up is going to be 8. Over here is going to be 4. Over here is going to be 16. So that's a pretty straightforward. And then we'll say speaker input. Boom. I should start marketing this shit. It's an awesome version. Alright, let me let me get this set back up where it belongs, and then well, actually, give me another couple minutes, because I'm going to put another little bit of stuff around here, the contact cement around this thing, and then once that's done, I'll get everything set up, and then we'll go through a test and see what happens when we use this thing. All right, right back. Alrighty, so here we are. We're back. This thing's basically completed. As you can hear, the speaker is working just fine, no problems whatsoever, so far as I can tell. I have plugged into it my Avengers lunchbox amplifier. I don't know if you remember, that's from a previous video. Right now this thing is set at 8 ohms, and sounds just fine to me. Let's see what happens if we switch it to 16, if it drops the sound. Yeah, it is dropping. It may not be able to tell much with the you can't tell much with the compression on the microphone on the camera, but it's definitely makes it less loud when I go to 16. I'm gonna go to 4. 4 is actually quieter. You know, the thing is, though, these chips that are in these little solid state amplifiers, a lot of times they'll kind of regulate themselves to where if they don't get the impedance they need, they actually will drop in power. So I think that's probably why it sounds quieter with when it's on 4 ohms. But I tested everything, I measured it out, and everything is actually working the way it's supposed to be working. So it is, the speaker is a success. I'll be able to utilize this to test other amplifiers and things like that, and some of them, because some of them I have 4 ohms, some of them I have 16, some of them 8. You know, that's the whole reason I did this thing. So, but anyway, we're going to call this one a success. The successes are definitely nicer than the failures, but anyway, if you like what you saw, definitely hit subscribe or leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment if there's something that you see that I did wrong, or if there's something that you saw that you liked. Great, let me know about it. Leave a comment in the comment section, and I hope to see you guys again soon. Thanks a lot for watching.